like a lightning rod because I'm attacking New York's finest. They're self-proclaimed king of New York. You know what I mean?
Did you feel at any point that you was like betraying New York or Biggie by going to do that interview with Tupac at that time?
His side of the story was like, how could I be mad at a whole coast? That don't even make sense.
Puff is probably one of the only persons that heard that interview. Angie can't say that nobody heard that interview, because it wasn't her ideal not to put it out.
Pac hit us with Hit 'Em Up, and that joint was cold.
Trying to see me weak, hearts I rip, Biggie Smalls and Junior Mafia some more.
We would take your turntables, you played Hit 'Em Up. That thing hurt to this day.
This old Tupac interview just popped back up online, and it's blowing up like crazy. People are saying Pac wasn't just talking, he was warning us way back then. And now, with everything going down around Diddy, folks are finally connecting the dots. Tupac wasn't just spitting random stuff. He was one of the first to straight up say Diddy was into more than just music. He wasn't just a label boss. He was moving like a kingpin behind the scenes. And Tupac tried to blow the whistle on all of it. You remember that legendary Angie Martinez interview? The one she claimed she didn't drop in full because of the East Coast versus West Coast drama? Well, turns out that wasn't the whole truth. Word is it wasn't even up to her. That call came from Diddy himself. He shut it down. Now that Diddy's in hot water with this federal trial, and folks are finally feeling bold enough to speak out, it's clear. Pac was speaking facts. He peeped the whole setup early and tried to shake things up. But the way people moved around him, scared, quiet, like they knew something, tells you everything. And here's the wild part. Pac was saying all this in the 90s, but instead of listening, people said he was tripping, jealous of the New York scene, or just too emotional. They brushed him off like he was making noise for clout. But now, it's looking like he was way ahead of the game. So now everybody's asking, what did Tupac really say in that interview? And is that the reason he got taken out too soon? Time to dig deep.
Every time it benefits New York, he represents New York. When it don't benefit New York, now he's just another rapper. But y'all let him wear y'all.
So by now, everybody's heard the whispers, those long-standing rumors that Diddy might have had a hand in Tupac's death. It's one of those dark clouds that's never really gone away. Folks been talking for years, insiders dropping stories, old heads in the industry hinting at shady moves, and honestly, a lot of people believe it. It all goes back to one thing: Diddy feeling threatened by Tupac. And not just in the studio. This wasn't just about rap charts or hit records. This was personal. Pac had that raw energy, that realness you can't fake. He had charisma, talent, and most of all, he had the streets behind him.
I'm trying to find my way in the world, I'm trying to be somebody instead of just make money off everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so I go down paths that haven't been traveled before, and I usually mess up. But I learn, I come back stronger. I'm not talking ignorant, So I obviously put thought into what I do.
Diddy, he had the cash, the deals, the flash, but he didn't have that. Tupac was everything Diddy could never be. Smart, sharp, smooth with it, funny, fly, and just naturally a star. No effort needed. People gravitated toward Pac because he was the real deal. And let's not forget, Tupac actually cared about folks. He wasn't trying to hustle everyone around him or treat people like pawns in some power game. He moved with heart. Meanwhile, Diddy always seemed like he had a plan, and not the good kind. Always plotting, always scheming. Big difference.
I was like, yo, Pac, so how much would you charge me to do an ad? And he sits down and he gets really quiet. It felt like he stayed quiet for an hour. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, I shouldn't have asked him. Then he looks at me and says, yo, I ain't gonna charge you for nothing. He says, you black, I don't charge my people for nothing. It was just the way he was. He just wanted to support the business. He knew what we were faced against. He knew how competitive the fashion industry was.
He was very intentional to make sure that I was seen. And I think bigger than everything is the fact that I see you and I want the world to see you. He said it was important because I was a black designer.
While Tupac was out here shining effortlessly, Diddy was out trying way too hard to keep up. People who knew Diddy back in the day say he's always been super insecure, and it showed. He desperately wanted to be that guy, but truth is, he just didn't have it. Couldn't rap, couldn't act, no natural flavor, And definitely not a looker. Let's keep it real. Since the 90s, folks in the industry have been calling him out as a try-hard, someone who was always thirsty for attention, but too scared to really stand on his own. He wasn't respected because he earned it. He wanted to be feared because he thought fear equals power.
But I know he's a weirdo. You know what I mean? Like, we've been hearing some stories about him, that he been doing some weird things and moving weird, and he always been, you know what I mean, always been a snake type of dude. So it's not surprising that when you hear all types of crazy stuff coming out now, you know what I mean? We always heard that he was, you know, moving in a strange way. And it wasn't surprising when we did hear like he was part of this and he put the hit out on Pac or he paid for it. It wasn't surprising for us because you gotta understand, like, he always been a very fidgety person. Like, you know, like a scary, nervous individual. Scary people with money do some scary things. You understand? Because he never was a person that was built to confront stuff on his own.
And now, with all the shady stuff coming to light, Diddy is starting to look more and more like someone who'll cross any line to stay on top, no matter who gets crushed in the process. Insiders are painting a picture of a guy who would use people up, toss them aside, betray anyone close, and sleep just fine afterward. That whole boss image, it was forced, manufactured. Diddy tried to build the legacy Pac was born with. Tupac didn't have to buy loyalty or force respect. It came to him naturally.
The hardest hustler in the world. This is Savage Part 2. Don't tell me about it. It's 2022 and I'm still a savage. Whatever I want, I get. Whatever I want, I get.
He had that spark, that pull. People felt him. And according to Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, that's exactly what tore Diddy up inside. Gene said Diddy just couldn't take seeing Tupac blow up on his own. While people were drawn to Pac like magnets, Diddy was out here paying folks just to stick around. That's the difference.
Everybody knew that Puff took Tupac blueprint and changed Biggs and Bad Boy in image. I Get Around, talked about how fly you was, how many girls you mess with, how many cars you drive, how much money you got, what you willing to do. He took his image. Pac was the first one on the scene wearing Versace shirts. He went and got the same Versace shirts Pac had. Which, all right, some dudes would do that. You would never catch me wearing something else, something that somebody else got. He was knocking down all the women that he thought Pac was knocking down. But Puff had an obsession with him for whatever reason it was, because he started wanting to act. He started wanting to rap. He had an obsession so bad that at his Grammy Award winning speech, he used the same speech that Pac used.
So what did Diddy do when he realized he couldn't match Tupac's energy? He started copying him. Hard. From the clothes, the attitude, even the type of women Pac liked, Diddy was straight up mirroring him. It went from competitive to downright obsessed real quick. Word on the street is, Diddy got so jealous when he found out Kim Porter might have had a thing for Pac.
And what Puff idolized some of the things that he was doing. So, whatever they may have done, and you gotta remember, they was all swingers. It came to the point where him and Pac wasn't cool no more at all. And maybe Kim liked him, Pac, more than he liked Puff, but she couldn't have Pac.
He allegedly started getting aggressive with her. That's how deep the jealousy ran. But here's the wild part. Tupac clocked Diddy early, way before the rest of the industry caught on. He wasn't fooled for a second. Pac started pointing out that Diddy might be living a double life, dropping hints that had people raising eyebrows, But that wasn't even the most serious part. According to Suge Knight, Tupac had some real concerns about Diddy's behavior, especially when it came to how he acted around young artists. And now, with all these stories floating around involving Diddy and Justin Bieber, folks are saying Pac saw it coming way back then. Suge even said Tupac wanted to start exposing certain rappers and producers, not because of who they were dating, but because some of them were allegedly using their power in shady, dangerous ways.
It was a rapper that messed with guys and go both ways. Pac didn't feel that was good. Because Pac felt he was real serious about the music. So if you're a producer or you rap, and regardless if you're married or not, and you got a boyfriend that works for you, a real boyfriend who used to be a dancer, Pac would studied all the facts. Pac was real smart. So before he say something, he'd go and do his homework. He'd say, okay, this guy right here, they say he gay, he go both ways. I'm not gonna put it out there on him yet, but I'm gonna do my research, and if it's true, the world should know. Because this guy might be around one of those little kids one day and mess around with them. And, so I'm gonna do it to actually save him from a little child. That's why Pac attacked certain rappers and said they gay.
Pac wasn't trying to shame anyone. He was trying to protect people, especially the younger ones in the industry. Now, Suge didn't drop names outright, but the clues he left? Pretty obvious. He talked about a producer who had a boyfriend and used to be a dancer. A lot of people think he was pointing at Andre Harrell, the late Uptown Records founder, and someone who had a very close connection with Diddy. It's all starting to make sense now. And speaking of dancing, don't forget, Diddy started out as a dancer. Back in the day, Suge Knight used to clown him for popping up in all the bad boy music videos, trying to be flashy and steal the spotlight.
First of all, I'd like to thank God. Second of all, I'd like to thank my whole entire Defo family on both sides, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to tell Tupac keep his guards up, we ride with him. And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing, come to Death Row.
But now, with all this noise swirling around Diddy's possible connection to Tupac's death, fans are saying these coincidences are looking way too suspicious to brush off. It's like puzzle pieces are finally clicking into place, and the picture isn't pretty. Now we gotta circle back to that infamous Angie Martinez interview. Yeah, that one. Angie always said she didn't release the full thing because she didn't want to pour more gas on the East Coast versus West Coast fire. But guess what? Deal just dropped a bomb. He confirmed it wasn't Angie's call at all. It was Diddy who shut it down.
Angie Martinez, right? When she went to LA and did the interview with Tupac, did y'all know about that on Bad Boy side?
Yeah, we heard about it. And I think Puff is probably one of the only persons that heard that interview. Angie can't say that nobody heard that interview, because it wasn't her ideal not to put it out. Do you understand what I'm saying? She could say that it wasn't her idea, but it's not owned by her. Who owns that interview? Because who was sent out there? Hot 97 owns it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So she could take all the accolades for not putting it out. You understand? But when you send somebody or someone of your person do an interview under the banner of Hot 97, it belongs to Hot 97. And Puff in the back ran Hot 97. That's how he got Wendy Williams fired. You understand what I'm saying? He can make phone calls to say something, to say, don't put this out, don't do this, take this off. He had that kind of power.
So Puffy, he did hear that Tupac interview.
Why would you try to stop something if you ain't heard it?
Turns out, Angie only released about 10 minutes of what was actually a 2-hour convo with Tupac. 2 whole hours. And according to insiders, Pac didn't hold back. He had plenty to say about Diddy. stuff that never saw the light of day.
And what's going down with that. So I wanted to get his view, and here goes a little something.
The East Coast, West Coast thing is a musical thing. That's separate. That's a whole thing separate to itself. That's a musical thing. Where we have been beefing about whose music is better or which is this
It
or
just
which
seems
is that
like it's gotten
from
real
the beginning.
bad
It
right
has
now.
because I'm like a lightning rod because I'm attacking New York's finest. They're self-proclaimed king of New York. You know what I mean? I'm attacking them so because nobody is separating themselves from him. They still
talking about
how
Biggie?
raw. Yes, they still talking about how raw he is and woo woo woo. He's a representative. He represents New York.
There are a lot.
Every time it benefits New York, he represents New York. When it don't benefit New York, now he's just another rapper.
I'm not
But y'all
saying
let him
that.
wear y'all colors. You let him shout y'all shit out. When Biggie came out here, he screamed out, "Brooklyn's in the house." We don't beat to say why you starting a war. Why is everybody when I say West Side, it hurt people's feelings?
I don't think it's because you're saying West Side. I think because
They think they own me.
Nah, not at all. I think it's because, Dog Pound video came out, New York, and I'm not saying you was in the video. I know you wasn't in the video.
I wasn't
but
in it. I didn't write it. I didn't produce the beat.
All right, so let's
I
take
was in
that.
jail. The album was done while I was in jail. That's separate.
It just, you know what it is? It's New York's visualizing your camp, which to them is Death Row, which is Dog Pound, which is Snoop, and which is that whole thing. And it was all one time. The New York video came out. Brothers was stepping on cars in New York, stepping on New York like they owned it. Boom, you come out next video. West.
What about the video? Yes,
It's a
it is, to me it is the best coast, and everybody in New York feel like that too. That's why they come out here and party, man. Why is everybody acting like? I'm not saying. I didn't say for me to say Cali is the West Coast. I never said New York ain't shit. I never said New York is the worst coast. I just said where I'm at, where I'm from is the best coast. Why is that offending people?
This all went down during the height of the coastal rivalry, when tensions were sky high. Everybody was watching and waiting to hear what Pac was gonna say next. But Angie claimed putting out the full interview would have made the beef explode even more. But now we know it wasn't just about avoiding drama, it was about protecting Diddy. And now that the truth's creeping out, people are realizing just how much was being kept in the dark. She said she didn't want to stir up more drama or violence.
That's where I interviewed him.
That's
where
when
it
you did
happened. It was in the middle of all that. It was smack in the middle of what was going on, crazy. And I was 22 and maybe, if that. It was my first big interview, and I flew to the West Coast by myself.
Wow.
Didn't know him from nowhere. And I really just went there and interviewed him. And what I got was so crazy that at the time, I couldn't air it on the radio because I was literally afraid that somebody would die. I literally thought I would make a bad situation worse. When my intent was to try to smooth it out and make it better, but he was so angry and passionate at the time that I really felt like if I would've put it on the radio, it would've got worse. So what I did is I have this 2-hour interview, right?
Yeah.
What I did was I aired 5 or 10 minutes of it, the best pieces that I felt like wouldn't cause more problems, and that's all I ever aired. So technically, I have this 2-hour Tupac interview that's never been ever heard.
And that's going to be offered on your site, Throwback Thursdays. You got to put the whole interview.
Yeah, no, I'm at the place. Everybody's pressuring me to do it.
You have to put the entire interview.
I feel like now, I do feel like now it might be a better time because I feel like, everything's settled. It's part of history. I feel almost selfish because it's so amazing. I feel selfish that I have kept it to myself.
But let's be real, Angie didn't have a choice. Looking back, it's clear Diddy had full control over that interview. If she went against his wishes back then, she could have lost her job or faced something way worse. That whole interview has been buried in mystery for years, and the rumors just won't quit. Here's what people say. Tupac allegedly dropped Diddy's name multiple times during the full interview, calling him out for the drama, the threats, even the infamous shooting at Quad Studios in '94. Pac believed Diddy wasn't just in the background, he was involved. Some say Diddy had street ties that may have helped set Pac up, or at the very least, he looked the other way while it all went down. If that interview had aired back then, it would have blown everything wide open, especially during a time when the East Coast versus West Coast beef was already out of control. But this next part, it's even deeper. Pac reportedly didn't just call out Diddy as a label exec, he painted him as someone running Bad Boy like a whole mafia, not a regular record label, a full-blown criminal operation with loyalty codes, threats, and fear tactics. And the wildest part? Tupac allegedly said Diddy wasn't even the top boss. Pac believed there were bigger, more powerful people pulling strings behind Diddy, using him like a pawn to spread chaos. He claimed they were pushing gangster rap, violence, and negativity to divide the black community, make it self-destruct, and then cash in off the pain.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. Literally the same people? Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Some records are made by committee, meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're gonna have this guy write the lyrics. We're gonna have that. You have, the record company pushing the narrative. Some social engineering going on here to make sure those prisons stay full.
That's the level Pac was thinking on. He saw the game way before the rest of the world caught up. Tupac supposedly didn't just call out Diddy, he went even higher. Sources claim Pac accused powerful elites of running the whole game from the shadows, using dudes like Diddy as puppets to stir up chaos and break the community down from the inside. And get this, some say Tupac even named names during that interview.
And I've always had total love and support and understanding that after my second marriage failed, because I had been 100% heterosexual up until that point, that I opened myself up after the failure of my second marriage. Having read something about bisexuality, my story was different. I just found that I would open myself up to the possibility of a relationship based on the person and not on gender. And I did after seeing a man or a woman for about a 4 or 5 year period of time and entered into a relationship with a man.
Real heavy hitters. If that's true, it would explain everything. Why, after all these years, with Diddy finally facing heat and his whole bad boy empire falling apart, that full interview still hasn't come out. Because if Pac really exposed the big bosses, the true shot callers pulling the strings, then of course they'd make sure it stays buried forever. No way they'd let that kind of truth hit the public. But now I gotta ask, what do you think? Did Diddy block that interview just to save himself? Or were there bigger forces behind the scenes who told him to shut it down? Was Tupac getting too close to the real power, and they feared he was about to expose it all? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming next. We're just getting started. See you in the next one.